Welcome back to my channel and part 2 of my interview with Jessi Hersey. Now, if you haven't seen part 1, I highly recommend checking that out first, and I'll go ahead and link it right here for you. Today, we're going to hear about the aftermath of her being told she was a man in a woman's body, how she escaped Twin Flames universe, what it was like working for Jeff and Shaleia, or should I say volunteering, and we'll learn how she began to heal. Remember, she has a memoir coming out soon with even more details, and please don't forget about her children's book about pronouns, Super Gay. Half of all sales for her kids' book are going to Trans Lifeline until Valentine's Day 2024. So, let's get right into it. It's time to let the fresh air in. Okay, so you mentioned something called, in our pre-interview conversation, the Divine Healing Group.
It was the Divine Masculine Healing Group.
The Divine Masculine Healing Group.
Yeah.
What was that? Because it sounds really crazy manipulative.
Oh, yeah. They didn't record any of this. Well, I guess they recorded a little bit of it. They had some of it in the docuseries, which I didn't realize they had, but they had it from when I left that group. But it was secretive. Like, one of the harmonious union same-sex couples like broke into our exploring group. So that means my twin flame would have had to let her in, and talked about, yeah, you guys can join to help in the healing process of your man. So they were calling me man, he, him, whether I liked it or not, which I even said in the docuseries. I said multiple times she, her. I don't want to go by that.
Yeah.
But they told me I have a block. Like, I even got a free session from a coach, which you never do, to help my healing process of being a man. But this group was specifically made for fully accepting your gender, your newly announced by Jeff and Shaleia gender. And I'm purposely saying Jeff and Shaleia because they're both equally in that. But this group was, which is brought up a little bit, like, we did go in that full day of filming into this too. They literally wouldn't let you leave the group until certain things were accepted. So, like, Angie and I both said in the docuseries, cut your hair, change your pronouns. Because I kept on having a refusal to pronouns, I had to stay longer sometimes for our sessions. There was multiple sessions. I only went to, I think, 5 of them before I left. So that was 2 hours each per session. Sometimes it would go longer, but we were a whole group. A lot of people were there that you now see fully transitioned.
Oh my gosh.
That's why I said, what?
Sorry, I was going to ask, who was conducting these meetings?
Only those who were in harmonious unions.
What was it like? Like, was it just you basically like a group discussion on why there was a resistance, and then they would try to like reframe your thinking around it, or?
How the group works in general is we're all together one in consciousness. So whatever one block is, it's all of our blocks. So in our Divine Masculine Healing Group, all of our blocks was first changing our pronouns. That was hard for everyone. And second, getting a haircut. Like, I'll never forget Shaleia using another member against me because I refused to cut my hair. I did not do it. All I said is, I just can't get it at this time. It's 2020. My gosh, I can't get it at
this you're like, I can't go. Sorry.
Yeah, pretty much. But she used like examples of those in the group who had already gotten it cut. Of, oh, doesn't it feel so good to have your hair cut, that breeze, to be closer to your true self? But she looked directly at me because I was the only Divine Masculine in the group who hadn't gotten my hair cut. It was still very long.
These people who were going on to cut their hair and even transition, do you believe it was for most, if not all, coerced because of all of these groups, all of these private, secret, masculine healing groups?
Oh yeah, I personally feel it was coerced. I felt very coerced, and I was gradually getting back to logical thinking. Like,
oh my God.
I think it's important to put, especially the exploring portion in, like, my twin flame, Chosen One by Jeff and Shaleia, and I kept on talking. Like, we both liked a lot of the same music. It was my first time flirting with a straight person, to put it nicely. So we actually did do flirting, and she even once said to me, I feel uncomfortable because I've only been with men. And I said, yeah, you're supposed to be with a man, but you are a man. So we had a lot of difficult, uncomfortable conversations on top of our little back and forth. Like, I even paid for her portion of a gift that we got Jeff and Shaleia for just celebrating the unions. Like, we were so close to being announced of being in harmonious union, but see, this group, the only way you could get called harmonious union is you fully at least did the outer appearance of transitioning into a divine masculine. So cutting your hair, changing your pronouns, 2 of those things I didn't do ever. But I somehow got around that because at that time, my twin flame and I hadn't decided on our one coach. We had been going back and forth on that, but we hadn't chosen one.
So you had to choose like a couples coach for the
we had to choose one of the ascension coaches. The funny part is she had for financial reasons, was no longer a coach, but I was the only one in our relationship, an ascension coach still, which is kind of interesting if you think about it. So one was still making money for them, the other was not. And I was pressured to get her to come back too. So I was also doing that, as she was also pressuring me to fully change my outer appearance. We eventually got pressure, which this still comes from Jeff and Shaleia. So anything me or her or anyone in the group, whether it's ascension coach or in the forum, that's coming from them, not from what we're actually feeling. So who knows what she actually felt. But we were both pressuring each other at the time, and she wanted me to do exactly what a couple of couples had done at the time that had just been newly announced, which was move to California with her. She said she'd pay for everything, and I told her, no, I don't know you fully. I don't feel comfortable with this. Well, that's a block we need to heal together. It was constant in our little meeting, just like the boot camp at that time had just started coming about.
What was the
spiritual boot camp? So it's pretty much paying Jeff and Shaleia to cook for them and clean for them and whatever else their needs are.
Wait, say that again. So you would, how was it sold to people? Like, it was being in close proximity to them, you're healing not only your harmonious union, but you're keeping it a strong union. So only 3 couples at the time that were coupled. They were part of the first wave. Only one was part of our wave that had made it to pretty much living with them for, I think it was 6 months. So they would do coaching, they would do cleaning. So you're still doing all the work if you're an ascension coach, which pretty much all of them were ascension coaches that were there. You were cooking, cleaning, still doing your own work on top of that, your business. So you're doing everything there. So that was 24/7 work, which you already do whether you're personally with them or not. Like, we were all working in New York, even when we were in New York. There was never a stop point of, like I said, that's why even though I've been out for 3 years from the cult, I still have to multitask. I can't not multitask. I don't know how not to. And I have to remind myself always that not everyone works like I do. So that's something I do. I always remind myself, yes, not everyone works like I do. So you're not going to get this right away. I still have to remind myself that. And they charged people to go live with them and cook and clean for them. And that was considered spiritual boot camp.
Yeah, so not only are they paying for services of coaches, they're paying for because it's per month, they're paying to stay and live and do stuff there. I honestly don't know because I wasn't one of the ones invited. You have to also be invited there.
So you get to be invited to pay. Oh my, this is so messed up. I like, part of me wants to go off right now, and I'm like, do not
do it.
No, I just like, Jerry. I know sometimes when I talk about this in some of my videos, I've even been like, Erin, reel it in. Like, you want people to listen to you and not think you're just totally unhinged, because I'm also,
that's when they want to listen to you, is when you're unhinged. I'm just being honest.
I just want to, like, I wish I could roast them so hard, like, ooh, but okay.
For your own safety, no.
Yeah. That's partly what I'm afraid of too. Like,
Thank you.
I'm also a
Safety.
comedian, so I'm just like, I know I could say some stuff, and
No,
I'm
not if it's directly towards them. No,
just,
but I strongly disagree with.
I know. Okay. Wow. All right. Here's a concept, a question that I just like I cannot understand, because all of this is all spiritual concepts that they're basically saying is real, right? Like,
Mhm.
and whether someone it resonates, your twin flame, your soulmate, whatever, that's not what this is about. But these are, you have to admit, these are spiritual concepts, and they either resonate or they don't. Like law of
Mhm.
attraction, it resonates to talk in positive speak, or it doesn't. And if it goes too far, it can get toxic, right? Like we have to kind of be
Correct.
aware of the toxicity around becoming obsessed with these spiritual concepts. And this might just be opinion, but I believe that we're all a little masculine and we're all a little feminine. Like it just,
Yeah.
it's like the yin yang. It's not like a straight line cut in half. It's fluid. It moves. I don't understand why the masculine and feminine had to be in the physical. Why do you think it had to be this like you have to cut your hair and like potentially go through surgery and hormonal change therapy? Like why did it have to go that far?
Well, it didn't start that way. That's the thing. No one really got that information yet. It didn't start that way. It started exactly the way you described it, just an energy that you can accept or not accept and try to figure it out and explore. That word is used a lot. So it did start that way before the coupling happens in two waves. I think there was a third wave too when I left, but I literally, until the docuseries, I didn't start keeping up to date with anything. Cult didn't come back in my life until about a year ago.
Oh my god.
But
Are you
uh,
regretting it?
no,
Like I thought I was
honestly,
out.
the only time I regret it is when I have to look at the faces of those still in there. Other than that, and it helps fuel me in this fight of taking them down. And the fact that there are actual children in that cult. There are children that are growing up, whether they're special needs or not, or disabled, whatever word people choose to use, because as a person with special needs, you can choose if you like special needs. I like the word special needs, but sometimes they choose disabled too, which is equally fine. But yeah, there's children in there, which also fuels me, and the fact Grace is being raised in there that way. Um, who knows what happens behind the scenes, which is just my personal opinion of abuse that happens, because they had plenty of happen just in the Inception coach stuff behind closed doors or in personal DMs, or like one of my coaches I had would just receive harassment in text form from Jeff in some of our sessions. So there was a lot happening behind the scenes, and I know is probably going really hard on them, which also makes me feel horrible, but glad I spoke up and glad I'm continuing to, because the more negativity that goes out there, the harder it honestly is on Ascension coaches. Not anyone in the forum, but Ascension coaches are definitely going to get it, and anyone in the inner circle are going to be really getting it hardcore. Like it won't feel like it because they'll be told it's a block, but they'll absolutely be getting it. And Jeff and Shaleia will definitely play the "oh poor me" card. That's what they always play. You can even look at their personal IG pages. They still play the "I was once poor" card. Once, keyword once, in the past, not presently.
Because I think about this a lot, especially in seeing how people are reacting to I mean, just in general, the way people react when they hear stories of cults and cult victims. And the immediate thing is to go victim blame, like, well, you should have seen the red flags, you should have known this. And when it just keeps people in the cult who are still in it even longer, because it's almost like proof that we're on the outside are wrong and we're attacking them. And so when people keep shaming victims of cults or making fun of, like, people are really, I think, mean spirited about Mother of God. I'm just saying that because of having just watched it, about the victims of her cult and how they're still really ingrained in the thought process. But when we on the outside react that way with like negative rhetoric about how, oh my gosh, how crazy these people are, and I'm just using that word for lack of a better one, it makes those people stay in longer, because then Jeff and Shaleia can reiterate like, well, yeah, they're going to judge you out there. They're the ones being mean to you. They're the ones saying that you shouldn't believe in your twin flame. You're going to leak to them. It reinforces that idea. And I think we need more people like you who are like, no, this is happening. I can logically tell you why these are red flags. I'm trying to help you. And you're such a kind, like you said, genuine a lot. Like, you are such a kind, genuine person. I don't think anyone can really rationally look at you in an interview or in any of your videos or read the way you write and think that you have any type of like negative intention. You're really just trying to protect people. And I just think it's so incredible what you're doing, because you could have just been like, I just want to, and that's fine if that's your choice too. Whatever healing is best for you. But you could have easily been like, and I'm out. I don't want to talk to you, Netflix. I don't want to write anything. I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk to anybody. And instead, you're speaking out, and like, it comes at a risk. It comes at a risk of the public having their opinion. It comes at a risk of Jeff and Shaleia taking whatever means they deem necessary, potentially. Like, it can be a very scary, dangerous thing. And I just want to commend you for like doing all the work that you're doing, because I can't imagine it's hard.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Of course. Of course. At what point were you like, I want to reach back out to mom, or you needed just some outside perspective? Because you're dealing with your twin flame kind of pushing this male identity on you. You're dealing with literally hours of group, essentially therapy sessions to try to force this idea on you. You're being pressured to basically change your whole identity.
I was living with my mom at this time.
You were living with her. Okay.
Yeah, I had just, after moving back in with her, I think it was a couple months in, I just had gotten a car finally. It was used. My mom was impressed that I was able to negotiate, because I had never in my life, I've always been shy and the quiet one and the one that listens, and that was in all the friends groups. I never had just a group. But she was impressed. Like, she couldn't even negotiate with the car person, but I could. I wasn't afraid to. So there are some positives that came out of just being in the cult, because you had to be, this is how it is, this is how it's going to go. And when you were in a management position, you couldn't question your own words at all. So whatever you're saying, you got to go with it. So I was able to get the car I wanted, at the price that I could only get it at. So I was getting my first car. It was nice to finally drive and not walk constantly, though I still walk today for mental health purposes. I love walking. I did that when I lived in Florida. I didn't have a car in Florida, so I've gone years before without a car. I know how it is to not have basics that we all know and love, but I wouldn't trade not having a car for anything. I like having a car. But yeah, at that time, so I lived with her, and after that whole session and my first divine masculine session, after exploring, I actually looked up why people join cults on YouTube, and there happened to be an explainer video that's only 2 minutes and like 30 seconds, which is perfect for my attention span. And it's a cartoon, which I watch cartoons, which was even better. So it went into why people join, and it went into MLMs and everything else like that. And I went, oh my gosh, this is so similar. Oh, that was my next little insight in. So my logical side was coming in even further. I actually rewatched the video for a whole day. Literally a whole day. I just kept rewatching it and rewatching it and rewatching it. And I was still going through the sessions, doing the healing work. I did actually feel like, in some way, like, you're told there's signs. So there's signs in your reality that you're a male. There was signs in my reality, but I like my therapist that I had the second I got out, who said, well, aren't males everywhere anyways in general? So wouldn't they be in your reality? Yeah, it's true.
Good point.
So when you're in the cult, you don't see that. You just go based off of what Jeff and Shaleia say. So at that time, I still had a lot of things, even advertisements, which was kind of set up, I feel, by the cults. Advertisements of like male clothes and stuff like that, because they did want you to go out and get male clothes, but I already wear clothes technically, like sweatshirts, like really nice. But
Yeah. And sweatpants girly too.
yes, very
I
nice.
literally have like pajama pants on.
I do too right now. Like I told you, we have a lot in common.
Yeah.
But yeah, so at that time I did have a lot in my reality, but that video was like my final step of I want out. I actually instead, which is in the docuseries, I just went up to my mom and said, "Hey, mom, I'm a male." And that's when that question, she did the third, like I said, it took 3 steps for me. The third logical thing of questioning came. And I actually was so sick to my stomach, I broke down crying once I had already told her, yeah, it's them, not me. And she held me and I just cried. We talked for 4 hours. I had work the next morning too, which I still went to. But I cried and cried and cried and said, I don't know how to get out. I don't know what to do. I don't know. It's just a whole lot of I don't know, because I was so scared. Like, she still reminds me to this day that I was scared of choosing hell, because that was one of the threats. So hell, bankruptcy, which I have, by the way, gone through bankruptcy pretty recently. Hell, but that was due to the cult. It's repercussions of years later of the cult. But hell, bankruptcy. Oh, they threatened that they would make sure you never had a job ever again, in the real world, not in Twin Flames. That you would lose all your friends and family, which most of the time you already had lost them when you're in the cult.
Didn't you?
But you would lose all community members, that it would literally be hell, and that they would take legal action against you. They did. They took legal action against me, cease and desist. So a lot of the stuff they threatened did come into my reality. I'm purposely bringing this up so people that are either in it, because I know they're watching you, or out of it, or just are wondering, third party, not understanding it. A lot of it is a repercussion from being in that cult, period. From bankruptcy, like my house burned down in the Marshall fires, which I, at that time, I still have my moments of triggers. That was a trigger for me, thinking I chose hell. I thought it was my fault that it burned and that the fire made it there. So even when you're out, you can have the therapy help. We all still are going through triggers. I learned to eventually how to differentiate because of the therapist who was certified specifically in cults, which is good to have a therapist who's specifically in that. So a cultist therapist, because others that just are like you had on the show, yes, she's great, but she doesn't have the knowledge you need to deprogram someone. She has the knowledge to deprogram abuse, which is, yes, a part of it, but not the full part of it, the full scope.
Yeah.
Like Lala Lynch, which I say her name wrong constantly.
I know. Great though.
Yes, she was a victim herself and went in, and she's still doing the work today of just helping people get out and deprogramming, which can take years. I'm still getting deprogrammed today. Like, I have so many triggers, so sometimes I can't get through things, and I know why I can't, and I don't force myself to either. Yeah, it's a process. It's a never-ending process of healing when you get out. And yes, it's good to have therapy. I had therapy far before Twin Flames Universe, like actual therapists, for most of my life. And I went into psychology. That is my bachelor's degree. So I understand that aspect.
Yeah.
But
and it's just further proof that even if you have a more of an understanding of the human brain, having a psychology degree, you can still get into a cult.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can have a PhD or a doctorate's degree and still join a cult.
Yeah. Wow. So speaking of healing, what has because you got out how many years ago now?
3 years.
3 years
Almost
ago.
4, but 3 years ago. 2020 is when I left.
Wow. Okay, so you're healing. I know some people have asked in my comments, and I'm sure yours, what that's looked like for you. You sharing about having like an actual cult therapist help with things, but how did you find that person? What are some other things that are helping you? And has it helped you being a little more of an activist now?
I guess my mom, actually, one of the key things to helping me, because my story is different from everyone's else. That's already been proven countless times. Um, Netflix, funny enough, almost was going to add more to my story in the actual docuseries, but they had to stick with because Netflix is ultimately the boss of even them on the story, and they had already decided on the story. But with me personally, I blocked them, so I wasn't blocked by them. I blocked them when I left, which is different and helped, though it was so scary doing that. I literally was frozen for a couple days of just sitting, doing nothing. I wouldn't really eat or anything. I was already accustomed to not eating anyways, but my mom set up, I was going into a therapy session, so it was online. It was just like this. And 2020, which was also weird feeling for me, leaving then, was our world was already a world I was used to, and everyone else was not used to it and complaining about it. So it was a switch of mindset of, oh, so this is everyday life. I'm already used to that. Cool. I know how to function.
Yeah.
And then everyone else going, I hate this. This sucks. And I couldn't relate. So it made me further, again, feel different from everyone else. I was back in the same position as I was before getting into the group, and for a little while feeling like I actually fit in, and then getting out and being back to square one of, wow, this is great. The therapist was helpful. We only did like 3 sessions. I didn't need it as in depth because my logical thinking was full blown pretty quickly. She helped me a lot. Like I said, I still get triggers. My healing journey is endless. Actually, my memoir is helping a lot because it brings back a lot. And I know the more I speak, the more memories come up too. So I like speaking purposely for that purpose too, because then I can write more in depth and more memories come up. Because I'm a visual person, even as I speak, I can actually see like film wise of that portion in my life. Just like, yeah. So it's like a constant film even in my head because I'm a visual learner too. And my memoirs helped me a lot in my triggers and healing, and even seeing, oh, I see why I made it in at this point. Oh, I see why this conversation with a family member went like this. I see why I felt I need to do this. A lot of things become clear, which is nice. So writing, which has always been a part of my life, is really healing for me. I've been writing since I was 4 years old, but poetry was my first language. Yeah. Talking about it honestly helps in general, even if it's not a therapist any longer. And just having like the people I work with during the day are really supportive. Like they were some of the first people I told, hey, I'm in a docuseries. And funny enough, with Netflix, they aren't the ones who reached out to me first. Amazon was the first to reach out to me.
Oh, wow.
They DM'd me personally. And I was originally going to go with them, but then I got back in contact with another ex-member that I hadn't talked to in years. And so I wanted to give Netflix a chance. So because my background is fully in behavior now, that's all I do every day. I did a test with both of them, which I think is important just for everyone to know. I asked them the same question of, oh, so what is this about? What is the series going to be about, really? They had already told me. We had already had Zoom sessions about it. But I did it in email form since that's legal, and I wanted to see if they would actually tell me in email form if they were truly, genuinely into telling our story and telling it genuinely, not just to get film with it. Amazon went, oh, how about we hop on another Zoom meeting and talk about it? But Cecilia and Inbal, they did paragraph after paragraph of explaining in depth what's going to happen in email form. Wow. So that led me to choosing them because they proved themselves being not only honest, but that they weren't in it just to get filmed of my story. Like they both had the cease and desist story, which will go far more in depth in my memoir. And they both wanted to highlight that too originally in the series. So, and the male portion too. But yeah, that ultimately led me to choosing Netflix because, well, they were genuine. And like I told you, I only say yes to genuine people. And I only say yes to people that just want. Amazon just proved that they just wanted me to film. They didn't care ultimately about my story. It was just, let's film you as soon as possible. They were even rushing me to film at the time.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Were you, when you watched the final product, were you like pleased with the decision that you made? Like, did you feel like Netflix did a much better job?
Personally, yes. I feel Netflix because they highlighted the victims, the survivors, the family members dealing with this, versus Amazon highlighted who you never should highlight, which is Jeff and Shaleia.
Yeah.
They even gained more followers from Amazon. I was tracking. They gained more followers then, and versus the docuseries, they gained more followers that were just intrigued and wanted to be trolls.
Yeah.
So there was a difference. You could see the actual influx.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to highlight leaders. Like with Love Has Won, she was dead, so you can highlight her. She's dead.
Yeah. Yeah. And she, I don't know, she's not like any other cult leader I've ever covered. She seemed like, I don't know.
She's similar actually to Jeff and Shaleia. Why people were telling me to watch it is because of the similarities, and I purposely watched. I'm only in episode 2, like halfway through, but and you were right about the scare. It was scary, but anyway.
Did I tell you about that trigger warning before you watched
Yeah,
it?
you warned me.
I literally was like,
I didn't even process it until after the fact.
Like,
yeah, but if you look at Jeff and Shaleia too, like the blank dead eye that everyone talks about, they like Jeff has literally in one of his life purpose classes and Ascension School just bragged about doing drugs. So ultimately they are very similar. Like Love Has Won, which I don't know her name by heart. Amy.
Mm-hmm.
Amy, she talks about twin flames, but she talks about twin flames in the relationship of she's doing it, which Jeff and Shaleia did this too, all of humanity. So if you're in a twin flame relationship, you're helping all of humanity. So they have that in common. Jeff would do the same exact go-offs of that Amy did too. There's some similar, like Jeff talked to aliens too in one of his Ascension classes, and in our Ascension coaching meetings, he said that we weren't high enough beings to talk to aliens, but he did talk to aliens. I don't have the actual proof of that because a lot of things burned up in the fire. The stuff I have found, I've been thankful for, but he's talked about aliens, so has Shaleia. They've talked about astral planes, like saying she's a cult leader like that or was one. We literally have 2 cult leaders that are exactly like her, living, existing, still drawing people in, making money off them. I have a feeling personally, I don't think they're doing as well financially right now, but that's just my personal opinion. But and they wouldn't tell you anyways, they'd lie if they weren't doing well.
Because if they weren't doing well, that would have to mean that something's wrong with them, according to them.
Apparently, like you can even see on their site now, Jeff and Shaleia tried to make them seem equal. So all the couples you see on there, majority of them already came together, and Jeff and Shaleia just automatically said, "You're in union." Most of the people that are on there, only like 5 of the couples on there are actually coupled people in the 2nd and 3rd wave. I looked because I was going to call it out, but I figured I might as well call it out on here.
Yeah.
Most of them, so majority of them have been coupled by Jeff and Shaleia that are on there, and then they bring up, one twin is outside the group and the other one is doing the work inside the group. Like that's part of the advertising now on their page. And they tried to make it seem equal, but the people that already came in with twin flames, they were claimed to already be in union. And then Jeff and Shaleia said harmonious union, just for sales. So the people that are in there is for sales, and those people that are coupled are for sales. They're just sales. They're little tags of money for them. But the Love Has Won, even going back to her and the comparison, because everyone has told all of the ex-members in the docuseries to watch it. I've gotten it so many times. I just sat down after your comments on YouTube and just started watching it. They are so similar. It's scary. Like Jeff claims that his brother was Jesus, that in past lives he had been Shakespeare, which was also a sibling of his. Who else? He had a lot of family members, from Jesus to bigger names that I never even heard of, to he had a whole list of soul family. So Jesus, Mary Magdalene, Shakespeare, which pissed me off because I'm a huge Shakespeare fan. So that was a huge red flag for me with Shakespeare. I'm sorry. I love Shakespeare so much because Shakespeare is a gay man and he was making him straight. And I love Shakespeare's writing. But again, anyway, I can easily go on a rant on that. So easily. I'm very passionate about Shakespeare. He had like something. Oh, Krishna was actually on his family members. Krishna, something like there was like Indian spirituality within there too. It's why we probably had so many people from India as ascension coaches, which are not as many anymore. Ascension coaches, and then the forum. Like I literally worked with a lot of people in India and had a lot of clients from India.
Wow.
But yeah, his soul family consisted of anyone you can think of that was big and huge. Jesus being his brother. Like I'll never forget in New York, he one time just looked at all of us and said, "Oh, don't mistake me for my brother. I'm not Jesus." So then later in time, he claims to be the second coming. So really, love has won, which you've been doing topics on in Twin Flames universe. They aren't too different, honestly.
Yeah.
Besides her galactic squad of celebrities, they did celebrity Twin Flames, so that can easily fall into the same thing. They deleted that video. Yeah, like they went to Katy Perry, who was supposed to be with Brad Pitt, her twin flame, and then I only remember Katy Perry because fan. But let's see, what else can I try to remember? Oh, Billie Eilish and Justin Bieber were apparently twin flames. Trying to think of more.
I feel like with Jeff, because something I asked the therapist or the counselor I had interviewed was, is this all intentional? Like I feel like Jeff is a cult leader and Shaleia, they know what they're doing. They know exactly how to pivot. They know exactly what to say. I mean, they literally made up a tarot spread for you to convince you who your twin flame was because you shared that that's how you found them. So they knew it was something that would resonate with you. Like that's such clear manipulation. But I feel like with Mother of God, like she was really believing her delusion. You know what I mean? Like she was really believing it. And then she would have these like tiny moments of like, maybe I need help. And then other people who she had brainwashed were like, that's just you basically leaking. That's the enemy coming in. And then she'd be like, you're right. Let's have another shot. I'm turning blue, but I guess it's an ascension symptom. Like, that's what I like. Because to me, I think of all of these things you've shared that Jeff and Shaleia are doing every single day. I'm like, this sounds exhausting.
Oh, it's exhausting for everyone involved, whether you're, well, in the forum, you're not as aware of it, but as an ascension coach or inner circle, yeah, it's exhausting. Like, I'll never forget, it was a shock factor for me. I still didn't have any logic, but I did have my aha moments that was easily erased due to watching the classes and doing the mirror exercise. But he brought up, oh, you're not working hard enough. Like, the CEO at the time, she was like, oh, I feel great working all the time. I work through my block. I was like, oh my gosh, I already work a lot. Why do we have to work through this block? We actually had a whole hour session. Everyone came together, including in the forum, for us to work harder for free for them, of just working through it. So we were all working through it because we apparently weren't working hard enough and not meeting sales. So the ascension coaches got a whole other hour besides within the forum. So we had another hour on top of that hour of just working through that one full consciousness of not working hard enough and not making money from them, pretty much. But at that time, it just sounded like not helping enough people and not doing good for the world, because that's always what cult leaders use.
Right.
Saving humanity.
Wow, man. So I guess, what advice do you have for people who, I have like 3 follow-up questions. Well, actually, before we get there,
okay.
I think in our initial conversation, you had expressed the suspicion that they did target special needs.
Yes, they absolutely, and just LGBTQIA in general. So I was personally, I go further in my memoir, but I'm not even there yet. But Jeff put us all together randomly. So this is another job on top of the other 5 jobs I was already doing at the time. We were sent to go into LGBTQIA groups or just special needs groups in general. and bring people in. I got barely anyone. Most LGBTQIA, I'm just going to say queer because that's the correct way of saying it. Queer people aren't really into Twin Flames universe. There are a few, but they tend to be in the groups that but yeah, we went into the groups and most of them were resistant. I think I maybe brought in 4 or 5 people. Others brought in so much more. And if they had like a disability or a mental illness, it was a bonus to Jeff, which doesn't matter which squad, meme squad, any group you were in that was sent out to bring people in, they had a mental illness or disability, it was a bonus. They like having that very much so. I even saw recently, like I think this past year, they were trying to bring more people that were disabled in. And I laughed so hard because they couldn't even advertise to meeting their needs. Like they have no understanding of what it is to be disabled or special needs. They have no understanding of that. So of course their advertising sucks. So I laughed really, really hard when I saw them trying to do it on their personal Jeff and Shaleia page.
Wow.
It was hilarious.
Oh my.
Because they're not going to bring them in anyways, thankfully.
Yeah.
But they are trying. I've seen them try. As of lately, they aren't trying anymore with all of the backlash, and they probably won't for a while.
Hopefully after this too, hearing that is just like utterly shocking.
Yeah, and that wasn't, like I said, there's only so many hours and so much time. Like I had a full day of shooting until I literally came on a plane, spent one night in a very nice hotel. They got me a very nice hotel. And then next morning, from morning until my next flight back to work, because I had to fit in work. I told them that, and they worked really well around my schedule. They had to work extra hard for me to be able to just film me in the first place. So full day of filming done, go straight to the airport. So it was literally airport, hotel, filming, here comes Max, airport.
Wow. Well, thank you, because I think it has made such a difference with people who just becoming aware of this group is important, spreading awareness, and just hopefully people within it are starting to see through the lies. And that brings me to my question. Do you have any advice for people who are still in the cult?
Those who are still in the cult, I guess highly recommend that you do your research. Like look at Dr. Hassam's bite model, anything by Dr. Lynch. Look at actual doctors. Do your own true research, not what Jeff says to research. Watch, since there's now thousands of documentaries of cults out, whether it's Amazon or Netflix, doesn't matter which one you go to.
Yeah.
Just watch those, and first and foremost, stop watching Ascension School and Life Purpose Class. Stop watching everything. Just try stopping for like a month and see how your thinking goes. Stop and see how Jeff and Shaleia seem to you now. But I do highly recommend doing your research and even watching How to Become a Cult Leader on Netflix. I watched that and they did a really good job on that. That gives you good insights. Or my explainer video on YouTube, you can even find, there is some wrong information on YouTube, but there is some right information on YouTube that you can absolutely find on cults. And to know that it's safe to leave, that you're definitely not choosing hell. Some stuff that did absolutely happen to me getting out might happen to you as a repercussion from being in there, but it's not because you're choosing hell. It's just logically it's gonna happen because Jeff and Shaleia don't care about your well-being. They could care less. They've proven that time and time again. You're just a product, a literal product to them. And since in your question, even though you didn't say it, I would mainly just say to Jeff and Shaleia that look at what you did. And you can't clean up this mess because they normally use us to clean up their messes. You can't clean up this mess. It's global. Good luck with that.
Honestly, I think that is an amazing place to conclude. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. I appreciate your time and your vulnerability. And I'm just so grateful you wanted to share your voice with me and my viewers. And thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time. This has been great.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate your channel too, because you're doing an awesome job. I actually have talked about you without you knowing it.
Oh,
positively, not negatively.
oh, thank
And
you.
I purposely just don't say your name for protection purposes, but I
Oh,
have talked about you positively.
thank you. Oh, that's so nice to hear. That's so cool to hear. Thank you so much, Jessi, for sharing your story with me and being so vulnerable. It's been such an honor, not just interviewing you, but getting to know you. And I'm really grateful that you chose me to be someone that you shared your story with. I know it's going to help a lot of people. Please make sure to support Jessi's writing and her social media sites, all of which can be found down below in that pinned comment. And don't forget about her book, Super Gay. And remember to look out for her memoir next year. I mean, she has so much going on, and I really, really hope the best for you, Jessi. Thank you again, and thank you all so much for your support. It is truly so appreciated. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your year, but I will see you on New Year's Eve. And until then, be safe out there and always remember to ask questions. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. Goodbye.